If there's one thing you should know about me, it's that I love typing games. I've always been quick on the keyboard, so typing out words is one of the few video game mechanics I'm actually good at. I think that's why I was so excited to dive into the new game Type Night, which has you mashing out words in order to defeat skeletons, bats, sorcerers, and other fantasy creatures. It's the kind of premise that I usually love, but is this debut release from chaikadev too simple for its own good? It's not gonna take me long to type out the answer. You think Death Stranding has a lot of walking? Wait until you get a load of Type Night. This is the story of a knight who sets out on an adventure to fight the forces of evil that are swarming the cemetery. You do this by spelling out words, not unlike typing of the dead. A skeleton will show up with a word right over its body, and it's your job to spell that word before it has a chance to rip the knight to shreds. We start out with simple 3- and 4-letter words before quickly graduating to much longer phrases. This will make way to speedy bats, sorcerers that you have to fend off, and even boss battles that'll stop the action in its place. It's up to you to defeat the monsters, so the goal is to type out as many words as possible in an effort to walk from left to right and save the knight. Look, this is a short quest that plays out exactly the same every single time. The knight starts out with little more than a sword, but before long he'll get a shield and limited special moves that'll clear the entire screen. You'll also open up treasure chests with bonus points, life potions, and more special attacks. And if you're a speedy typist, you'll be able to keep the multiplier going in an effort to earn a high score. As a budget game, there's a lot to like here. I'm a fan of the simple pixel graphics, the catchy tunes, and the gradual spike in difficulty. Unfortunately, I don't like how repetitive this game is. I already mentioned that the story plays out the same way every time, but it actually goes beyond that. The entire quest is set in the same location the whole way through, with only minor changes here or there. Considering how much walking the knight is doing, I was kinda hoping to see him advance through a bunch of backgrounds. I love the style, but the cemetery gets old quickly. I'm also not a big fan of what happens when you type in the wrong letters. In most typing games, punching in the wrong letter isn't much of a problem. However, in Type Night, the same thing can be deadly. The wrong letter doesn't go away until you manually delete it. So there are all kinds of times when you'll not even notice that you have the wrong letter up there before typing out the whole word. This is especially bad when the sorcerer shows up and the skeletons swarm you, since a single typo can lead to you losing all your health in the most frustrating way possible. And since every playthrough looks and feels exactly the same, I didn't have a whole lot of incentive to jump back in after one of the cheap deaths. It's also worth noting that I ran into a number of technical problems, starting with not being able to make the game full screen. Dialing in the resolution and font size proved to be a nightmare, and most of the options left me scratching my head. Furthermore, Type Night has a bad habit of making the screen too bright when the lightning strikes. It'd be fine if the flash of light was only a second, but sometimes it sticks, making the cemetery look washed out and ugly. I'm telling you, the game isn't supposed to look like this, and hopefully the developers will be able to fix these issues. On the other hand, I really like that you can import your own words and create a customized experience. This is the type of thing that all typing games should do going forward, especially since the default library is small and ends up repeating after only a few games. It's a shame they didn't add more villains, power-ups, and locations, because Type Night is the kind of game I want to be able to recommend. Type Night is a solid typing game that is marred by too much repetition. It may be short and filled with pixel graphics, but every playthrough looks and feels exactly the same. You'll see the same enemies, special abilities, upgrades, and bosses in the exact same order, which is made even worse by the lack of diverse backgrounds. Type Night feels more like a tech demo than a proper game. Toss in more content and fix those technical problems, and this might be a game worth buying. But until then, you're better off replaying Typing of the Dead or checking out the Textorcist. It's awesome. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. In fact, we have a playlist with almost 600 reviews, so check that out. Now, here's the question I have for you. What game series would be improved with typing? You know, I've always felt like stealth action could work as a typing game. I'd love to see Metal Gear typing or something like that. I can't wait to see what you come up with in the comments below. In other news, I'm still working on a pile of reviews, so expect my take on Roof Rage in the near future. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.